Back live tonight on In Focus. The EFF in Gauteng has slammed the City of Tshwane's DA-led coalition. This after the Metro municipality missed the deadline to submit financial statements to the Office of the Auditor-General. In a statement, the Red Berets say the coalition administration is explicitly engaged in corruption and has completely collapsed the city. Gauteng EFF chairperson Nkululeko Dunga joins us now to explain their statement. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. Good evening to you and good evening to the listeners of the Newzroom Afrika.
So, let's start here first and foremost, because all the things that politicians say are politicking. So we can never say there are no politics involved. There are politics obviously involved in this matter. But are you plotting with the ANC to place the City of Tshwane under administration?
Of course not. We remain committed to ensuring that there is a stable government, and part of stability of any government is to ensure that it delivers basic services to our people across all municipalities. In actual fact, we have remained committed in terms of ensuring that we not only support the political structures that are leading relevant municipalities, and the establishment of government, by the way, but also to hold them extremely accountable for their actions and inactiveness to actually deliver on their mandate and those that we are actually advancing as the economic freedom fighters. Yeah. So it's not true. No, we are not in a business of unseating and unsettling anyone, but remain committed to the struggles that must be advanced of the citizens of Tshwane, in particular in this case, like we do in the city of Ekurhuleni. Yeah.
I wanted to come to that because you're an MMC of finance, a political head in the finance department in Ekurhuleni, which you would be au fait and familiar with the situations of this nature. What would prompt a city to say, well, we are in part wanting to do quality assurance because the APC said there are gaps in our reporting. So if we were to submit this report, it would take us to the situation of the last financial year where we submitted a report, a financial statement that had a lot of questions and the Auditor-General raising red flags. So we opt to take the advice of the APC and ask for a later date.
The honest truth is that they should have identified that there would have been these mishaps a long time ago. The Municipal Financial Management Act is very clear in terms of the time frames that is requested, and there's a directive that is legislated in terms of when you must do the necessary submissions. Section 126 speaks of the fact that you must have ensured that within 2 months after the end of the financial year, these statements are submitted, and equally 7 months later the mayor is expected to actually table the report, which must then be perused in the public domain and be taken to oversight committees for interrogation. Yeah. And if there are any findings and gross findings, and then the Municipal Public Accounts Committee, which is MPAC, must then institute that process of not only having public hearings but holding people to account, also using council as a tool for ensuring that there is accountability. They ought to have checked. You have your first quarter report that comes out unaudited, second, third and fourth, and that's mammoth time and sufficient time for you to have identified that we might have a problem here. But we're dealing with the City of Tshwane under the city manager called Johan Medler. He just meddles in things that he should not be meddling in, and that's what the Auditor-General found even the last time. In the previous year, we got to receive that. In actual fact, the reports that we have received as Auditor-General were not a true reflection of the finances of the city. Yeah. There was deep meddling, deep manipulation, and to a certain degree the highest level of corruption
they blamed the CFO.
That emanated.
They said no, the CFO was doing his own thing.
But who is delegated the authority to do the functionings? Yes, it's the CFO working in conjunction with the accounting officer. The duties and functions of a CFO are directly delegated from that of the accounting officer. As hence, even in the MFMA, we do not refer to the CFO. We refer to the city manager.
Yeah. What do your councillors know? Because from what I'm reading, the Audit Performance Committee saying, well, part of the reasons we are getting adverse audit outcomes is because, for example, everyone, even including those who are in council, they don't read the reports. They fail to read the reports.
Yeah, once more, we're dealing with the City of Tshwane, which has not demonstrated any capacity to actually formulate their own reports internally. They're the highest spenders with, outsourcing these particular reports, higher than any other municipality and metro in Gauteng, in the entire country. Now, it's not about as to whether can councillors and officials read the report. The reports are formulated and they are submitted. And then we peruse and check them, like where we are standing now. Was it in a position where our caucus is saying that we are ready? The 31st of August has ended in terms of the time frames of the MFMA. Where is the report so that we can really interrogate it? We are having the same expectations that the Auditor-General and the National Treasury, to an extent, would have in terms of asking for the reports. No, it cannot be that we are to blame for a non-existent report by an MMC of Finance of the DA called Satan. It cannot be. That would just be devilish.
Will the City of Tshwane be able to meet its obligations financially from where you're sitting? I mean, by their own admission, there's a 4.7 billion VAT liability, for example, that is costing them close to 100 million every month. We know that they are always behind when it comes to paying what they need to pay to Eskom. They are having challenges now with water and rainwater. There are challenges with refuse collection. What is your sense around what the financial situation is?
It's very clear that the DA-led coalition government, along with any other political party that aligns to the racist DA, is that they would not be able to meet those targets. Not only are we judging from the previous financial year, but also having looked at the quarterly performances of all these departments, they've failed. I mean, the collection rate is way below what is expected in terms of the 95% of the collection rate that should sustain the budget that they had proposed to National Treasury. Now that they have not conformed to even basic general practices of accountancy in reference to the MFMA, would then mean that even the National Treasury, there's an expectation that we should now be guarding them, and they should be at the center of engaging as to whether does the City of Tshwane inspire confidence for the National Treasury to actually allocate these grants that they would say that they would have given them. And from where we're standing, there is no such an inspiration that would come from the City of Tshwane.
Because I'm asking that because the Speaker Mloto is saying that no, they are well capable to overcome these obstacles. In fact, they are saying province must come and be part of the solution and not be scheming to try and place this city under administration under false pretenses.
They should not relegate the responsibilities to the province, or the accountability thereof, rather, because they are given a strict mandate to administer and to run the finances of the city, which they have dismally failed. It is not the province or any other political organization that has not paid rainwater, that has not paid Eskom, that has not collected refuse removal, or have not shown any program of action that is attributed towards the collection of rates and taxes. So they should take the onus and the blame. But that's what happens with white arrogance. They try by all means to shift the blame away from themselves and hold other people to account for their inactiveness. This is the same case that we're experiencing in the City of Tshwane.
Yeah, and of course they are also throwing some mud at yourself because of the actions of some of your members last week, and they're saying the violence and so on and so forth. All this is aimed at deliberately putting the metro municipality under administration, the strike that is going on, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we cannot. The responsibility of any, as the EFF in this particular case in the City of Tshwane, is to be an opposition party. And we play that role to hold and ensure that we hold the executive accountable at this level. Now, you cannot also police people to the point of not wanting them to carry out their basic right, which is to protest against an unjust government and an unjust decision. You know, we're dealing with the City of Tshwane, who themselves leading themselves as the DA, who are at times even struggling to even pay salaries, to a point that they're using conditional grants to try and pay their own workers, you know, and that cannot be attributed to any other instability except for the fact that they have demonstrated that they do not have the capacity to manage not only the funds but to also manage a constituency that they cannot resonate with. Majority of the constituency in the City of Tshwane are of black orientation and black people and Africans in total. And the DA has only demonstrated maybe probably in the Western Cape that they can carry out, because they direct their focus to white people and affluent areas, which is not the case in the City of Tshwane. The best thing that they can ever do is to actually the best thing they can ever do to the people of Tshwane is to move themselves away from administration so that they can allow for a new orientation of government that can truly focus on the needs of the people of Tshwane, because they have demonstrated that they can't do it and they will never will.
Yeah. So, I mean, just from that, one would say you yourself are looking at the city and in a sense articulating the fact that the city is in financial trouble, and by and large it cannot even afford the increases that the workers are asking for.
Yeah, my brother, we took also over a city in the city of Ekurhuleni who had the same financial constraints. Today, even National Treasury come to the city of Ekurhuleni and say that this is the best well-run city in terms of the finances and governance and internal control systems. You know, we've submitted well in time in terms of the Auditor-General's expectation in line with the MFMA. Yeah. We have increased the surplus. We closed off our books on the 31st of August with a 300 million rand surplus as the city of Ekurhuleni, after having exhausted and paid all of our debts that is owed. You know, we do not owe Eskom, we do not owe Rand Water.
Yeah. What are you doing to crack the whip? What are you doing that they are not doing?
We are governing. We're governing, we're having great financial controls and systems put in place. We're committed to ensuring that what we set out to achieve is exactly what we do. There's just a very few departments in the city of Ekurhuleni which has not met even its own performance targets. And with the necessary political will, you know, and the love for the people that you are leading, you can overcome any obstacle that comes along their way. Something that they have not shown in the city of Tshwane. Yeah. And
it's very clear to many that there's some degree weak controls, internal controls. To what would you attribute that?
Lack of leadership. There's no one who can ever be led by someone called Satan and then think that they are going to do the right thing. I mean, it has been consistently found that, I mean, just in the previous financial year, they had an irregular expenditure of 10 billion rand, which they could not have corrected in terms of the recommendations of the Auditor-General.
Yeah, well, they say part of the reason why they're delayed now is because they want to address those findings of 2021, 2022.
Yeah, so we are now going to be acting 2 years behind in terms of the implementation of the Auditor-General's recommendations, and instituting credit control measures, ensuring that there is a separation of powers, ensuring that there is accountability. We're looking at 2 years. And if there is anyone who's found to have been wrong, doing any wrongdoing, particularly on even 600 million that was allocated towards irregular expenditure by the Auditor-General in the previous year, is that those people can now decide to leave the system and they will never be held to accountable for the actions that they had done 2 years ago. So you are also prolonging people's justice by not implementing basic principles and directives that are given to you by the Auditor-General.
Nkululeko, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and for your intervention there tonight. Chairperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters in Gauteng, Nkululeko Dunga.